Okay, hey there guys. Today we're going to be looking at how to set up a VPN network for your Ubiquiti UniFi gateway. So chances are if you got an office or you're setting up a network, Wi-Fi is one of those issues that just seems to hit everyone. You want to have great coverage, it should be super fast, you want lots of devices on there. I mean, like most users now have like 2-3 Wi-Fi devices, so making sure that Wi-Fi is fast and reliable can be quite a challenge. So that's why a lot of people have been looking at Ubiquiti stuff. These guys are real Wi-Fi experts, so if you want great coverage, their APs have sort of become one of the go-to vendors to check out. So a lot of our customers have been asking us, hey, how can I get a UniFi gateway configured to work with VPN Tracker? So I've got my UniFi set up. Now I want my Mac users to be able to get on our VPN to get secure access to the office. I want people to be able to work wherever they are. So we're going to show you how to do that with a Ubiquiti UniFi setup and with VPN Tracker 365. So you'll need those two things. You'll need obviously your UniFi network, and we're just going to assume you've got all that set up. You're on the internet, you've got your APs hanging from the ceilings, you've got great coverage everywhere. So let's take that for a given. Next, you'll want to go to vpntracker.com, our website. And from there, you can grab the free download of VPN Tracker 365, and you'll find it right here. And you can take that for a whirl and test it out with your UniFi setup. I've already installed VPN Tracker, so let's go ahead and take a quick look at that. So you'll be prompted to sign in once you've downloaded the app. You can get the free trial and take it for a test drive with your UniFi setup before purchasing. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to create a new company connection. And here you'll see the list of vendors that we support in VPN Tracker. And so just to give you an idea of what these do, so if I choose a different vendor, so for example, a Cisco Meraki MX series profile, or as in our case, the Ubiquiti UniFi profile, that gives me a whole bunch of presets and settings that have been designed to work specifically with this vendor. So we figured out what works, what doesn't work, and sort of behind the scenes, VPN Tracker will throw out some options that don't apply here, and will automatically pick the best VPN options for this vendor. So in this case, for your Ubiquiti UniFi setup. So we're going to go ahead and choose that. And here you can see the most important link that I'm going to show you today, the configuration guide. So let's click on that. And that pulls up our PDF manual that takes you through step-by-step through this configuration. So I really recommend that you check this out. If you go through it, there's a lot of information in here, but it's really, it's a really great step-by-step guide to getting set up. I'll be showing you these steps as well now, but if you ever, lose your place or you're not quite sure what setting I meant, just refer back to this guide and it'll have all that information in there as well. Going through the manual really quickly, you can see there's a few different chapters. So we've got task 1, the UniFi setup. So these are all the steps you need to take on the UniFi gateway. Task 2 is the VPN Tracker configuration. So there you'll see all the steps that you need to take to configure your connection in VPN Tracker. And one page I wanted to point out here is this page where we've sort of got a few boxes that you can fill in. So if you print this page out or you want to fill it in on your iPad or whatever, you can sort of put in the most important bits of information you need as you set them up on the UniFi, and then refer to them later when you're entering the configuration into VPN Tracker. So that's just a little bit of a helpful tool that you can use to keep track of that information. Okay, as you can see here, I'm on my UniFi dashboard. So here's where you can sort of monitor your UniFi, you see your APs and so on. And so here's where we're going to start configuring a VPN setup on our UniFi Security Gateway. So the first thing we're going to do is we need the external IP address for this gateway. So we need to figure out how we can access it from the internet. So to do that, I'm going to go to Devices, choose your gateway, and then you should see a box like this. And in the details view, you'll have the WAN section. You might have multiple of these depending on how your network is configured, but you need to get the external IP address from this section because you'll need that later to enter into VPN Tracker. So we've got a dummy IP address there now, but this will normally either be something different, or if you have a dynamic DNS service configured, you can go in there and you can find the dynamic DNS hostname. That is usually the best way to do it. So if you haven't got this set up, we recommend that you do. That'll give you, vpn.example.com or something along those lines, and you can use that as a persistent host name that you can access this VPN under. So get your dynamic DNS configured or figure out your fixed IP address from the details section and make a note of that in your configuration guide. All right, once we've got that done, next we need to set up a Radius server. So let's go into settings, which you can find under this gear cog icon on your UniFi dashboard. Okay, so you've got all your settings over here on the left, and we're going to head over to services. Now, what we need here is a Radius server. A Radius server is basically just a server that can store information about users for you. So let's say you've got a few different colleagues that need to access a VPN. We're going to set up a Radius server that has an entry for each of your colleagues. And that allows you to set different passwords, different access rights for each user accessing your VPN. If you have an external Radius server, so perhaps your company already has one set up or you have one in the office, you can also use that as well. But we'll show you how to set this up right in UniFi in case you don't. So first of all, you want to head over to the server tab, enable the Radius server, and here you're going to be typing in a secret. So I'm just going to pull up my list of files here. Okay, so over this secret is just a password really, is the password that is used to access your Radius server. You'll only need this in a second for to tell the UniFi how to access its own Radius server. So I'm just going to put in Radius secret. Whoops. As my password there. The rest of the settings you can leave as they are, and I'm just going to apply those changes. Okay, so now we've set up that Radius server. We can head over to the users section, and you can see there's no Radius users on this particular gateway yet. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new user. And this would typically be something like John or Mary or whoever, Alice. I'm just going to give it a generic name right now, VPN user. And we're going to enter the password for this user as well. So this will be each user's specific password. So if Mary wants to access the VPN, she'll be prompted for a password. So you should assign something here that is pretty secure. I'm just going to enter this for demo purposes and hit save again to save that setup. So, okay, we've got one user in there now, and you can go ahead and add multiple users. So, you can add Mary, etc. And you get the idea, so you can just go ahead and add all the users you need. Okay, so once we've added all our users in that will be accessing the VPN, we now need to tell the Radius server, we need to give it a profile. So a profile basically just helps your VPN configuration on this UniFi to figure out which Radius users it's allowed to access, or which Radius profile it can access. So first we have to set up that profile, and we have to give it a name. So this is going to be our profile for our VPN. So we're going to call it VPN profile. It's really creative, I know. And down here, we just need to enter the IP address of this UniFi gateway. So we're basically telling the Radius server or the Radius profile to use the Radius server that we just configured on this gateway. So you want to enter this device's gateway address. So that's typically the internal IP address, maybe something like 1.1. That would be a typical IP address. And now we need to enter the password. And this is just the password that we entered when we turned on the Radius server on this UniFi. So we entered Radius secret as that password. And that's all you need to do there. So you just hit save. One point here, if you do have an external Radius server, so another server in your company acts as a Radius server, you could enter that IP address in here as well. But this is if you're using the UniFi to be its own Radius server, that's what you would enter. So this IP address needs to be, this UniFi IP address. And hit save. And now we've got our VPN profile all ready to go. Okay, next we're going to head over to the Networks tab. And in here you can see all the networks that you have configured on your UniFi gateway. So I can see my LAN network, we have a guest network, and a few other things here. Typically you'd also see your Wi-Fi networks in here as well, or other subnets that you might have created. So I'm going to create a new network now. And in here's where we configure all the most important settings. So this is a special network that we're creating that all our VPN users will access. So I need to give it a name. Let me just pull up my notes here again. All right, so I'm going to enter the VPN Tracker users. It's going to be the name of my network. And the purpose of this network is to give remote users VPN access. There's 2 other VPN options here. It depends on the firmware version you may have. You may see more or fewer options here. The other 2 are site-to-site VPN and VPN client. Site-to-site VPN is, I think, fairly self-explanatory. It's if I'm connecting to networks rather than users. VPN client is a bit misleading. In that case, your UniFi will be acting as a VPN client, logging onto another VPN. In this case, though, we need remote user VPN, so make sure you have remote user selected. Next, it's asking us for a VPN type, so whether we want to use PPTP or L2TP. Definitely choose L2TP here. That's the best configuration option available here on the UniFi, and offers much better security. And we now enter a pre-shared key. The pre-shared key is sort of like the master key for your VPN. So all your users have this same pre-shared key. So you want to pick something that's pretty strong here. Don't do the test 1, 2, 3, 4 because you'll forget about it. So use a generator tool. Use keychain access to generate a strong password for you here, and type that in or paste it in. Okay. Next step, it's asking us for a gateway or subnet. So this is the part that is the easiest to get wrong because it sounds as though that the UniFi is asking us here to enter the gateway address of your internet connection, or perhaps the gateway address that the UniFi has. But in fact, what we're doing here is we're creating a new network. So we need to sort of create a whole new IP range that all the VPN users can share. So for example, you'll want to pick something here that isn't already in use on your network. So the typical network IP address range is like 192.168.1.0. That's probably already taken. That's like a default network. So you don't want to choose that. You want to pick something unique here. So we're just going to go with 192.168.175.1 because we need to tell the UniFi to act as a gateway here. So we're giving the UniFi the .1. And now it's asking us for /subnet. So you can really type this in the same way that it's got listed there. And we can just enter /24. And that tells UniFi, okay, please create a new C-class network. So a new network that can take 255 users, and give all the VPN users that connect to that network range a IP address within this range. So with .175.1 all the way up to .254. If you're not sure about this, so if this is your first VPN setup, you can just go ahead and copy those settings. That will typically work unless you happen to already have the .175 network in use on your system somewhere. But if you're not sure, just follow along with those settings and see how you go. Okay, and then the final step that we need to do is our good friend the Radius server down here. So as we already have configured up our Radius server earlier, and we've already created a Radius profile as well, we can now go in here and just choose that Radius profile. Okay, so I'm going to go in and I can choose a profile here, and if I just choose VPN profile and hit save, then it's going to apply that setting to my network. Okay, and that's all we need actually on the UniFi side of things. And now we're ready to give it a try in VPN Tracker. Okay, so next step, we're going to configure VPN Tracker to connect to your Ubiquiti UniFi Security Gateway. So the first thing you'll need is your VPN Gateway IP address. So that was the very first bit of information we wrote down. So this could be a host name, vpn.mycompany.com. If your guys have set that up for you, or if you've set that up, it may be a dynamic DNS address. So there's a few different dynamic DNS services you might be using. So for example, vpntracker.dndns.org. That could be one. Or it could just be your IP address that has been assigned to you from your ISP. Important to note there, though, so IP addresses that are given to you dynamically by your service provider, they usually change. So you won't be able to hold on for that too long. Nonetheless, for testing purposes, you can put that in there. And that's all that you actually need right now. So we can go ahead and we could try to connect using this bit of information. One important thing, though, is you don't want to be on your local network if you're trying to connect to it via VPN. So, let's say I'm trying to connect to the Munich office. If I'm sitting in the Munich office, this is not going to work because the gateway will see that you're coming in from inside the network and it's going to say, okay, this person doesn't need to be using VPN. They're already in the network. So that's always one thing that makes setting up a VPN a bit tricky. Luckily, if you have a personal hotspot capable iPhone or Android device, you can set up a personal hotspot, get that running, and just connect to that instead. That's usually the best way to do it, so you can just quickly test it out. So I've just set up my personal hotspot, I'm connected to it, and I'm going to hit that connection. VPN Tracker runs a quick test, so it does this automatically just to figure out, do I need any specific settings to make a connection work over this internet connection? It's really handy for hotels and stuff as well because VPN Tracker will do a lot of the figuring out for you. Okay, so it's figured all the things out it needs to, and now it's going to ask us for that really long pre-shared key. So you'll remember the pre-shared key is like your VPN's master key. This is the big password that we created using a keychain access tool. So I got a really secure password for this part, and I'm going to hit OK. And what happens now is VPN Tracker is going to use that password and connect to the Ubiquiti UniFi. If you see this dialog, then great. Then the connection is already almost up and running. So it's been able to talk to the UniFi device and now it wants the user details. So this is the part where we added our users to the UniFi. So as we said, you can add Mary, John, whoever, and give them each a password and a username. So we set up VPN user 1, we set up Mary, and perhaps you have other usernames as well. So you want the username and the password you entered. So we just entered secure password. Show typing there. And there you go. We're now connected to the Munich office. The connection's up and running. If you go to the status view, you can see that things are working. You can see the IP address you've been assigned. And everything that is now behind that network, you will be able to access. And that's it. So yeah, if there's any questions or if you have any issues getting set up, I'll just call out this button here, the technical support report button. This lets you save all the logging information that may be related to the issue you're having, and you can open up the support form and automatically upload this there to give to our guys who will be happy to help you figure out any issues you may be having and get your connection up and running. Once your connection is working, you can create VPN shortcuts. Just going to quickly show you this feature. They let you set up really handy shortcuts to access the stuff that you need most often of your VPNs. You can add your file server information. You could add perhaps the intranet address. So, if you got something like this set up, intranet.example.com, you can type those in, give it a nice name, and then make this a one-click way to access the intranets and automatically connect the VPN as you need it. So that's it. You can find VPN Tracker at vpntracker.com, and happy VPNing with your Ubiquiti UniFi and VPN Tracker 365.